Layout design is really more of an art than it is a science. And while it's true that most of these field names and most of these tabs that are on your databases can be modified, it's not something that you would want to do just because you can. But there are times where you might want to customize your own database. So it's a good idea to know where you can do that. So what we're going to do is take a look at layout design and just do one quick example, and then I'd highly recommend that you just experiment with it for your own designs. It's simple to do and it's risk-free as long as you follow the pattern that I'm going to show you. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go up to the menu bar and click on Tools, and then we're going to click on Design Layouts. Now we're going to look at Contact, but notice you could also do this with Group and Company. Notice that you cannot do design layouts for Opportunity. Those are already done and they're proud of them. They're not going to let you change them. So we're going to click on Contact. Act will bring up a database or a layout design that looks a lot like the one that had the contact information on it, only notice that it doesn't have any contact information on it. Notice also that it's called the Basic Contact Layout 800 by 600. So this is the one that we were using. Now, before we go and mess this up and then wish we could just undo what we've done, what we're going to do is we're going to save a new file. So we're going to click on File, and then we're going to click on Save As. And then what we're going to do is just name it something else besides Basic Contact Layout 800 by 600. So why don't we just call it Act Class 800 by 600 and save it as that. Now we still have our basic contact layout, so now we can experiment. So let's say that the executives have determined that people are parking in their preferred parking spaces. So from now on, every employee and every vendor that shows up has to have their car tag recorded on the database so that we can quickly notify those people to move out of the executive's parking space. Does that sound familiar at all for any companies that you've worked with? Well, where do we put car tag on our database? There just really isn't a place to put car tag on the database, is there? Well, what if we use one of our user fields? What we could do is we could create a new field called car tag based on a user field. Now, that's a two-step process, but it's not that complicated. So what we're going to do is first we're going to click on user fields on the user fields tab. Now, some of these tabs can be taken off of the entire database, but notes, history, activities, opportunities, groups, secondary contacts, and documents are going to be on there. The others, you can hide them, you can take them off. But what we're going to do is we're going to use these user fields, and we're going to just double click on user 1. And notice when we do that, now we have text that we can work with. Now we're going to select the text, and we're just going to change it to car tag. So that's the first step. Now, the database indicates that that's a car tag, but as far as it's concerned, it's still a user 1 field. In other words, if we wanted to pull a report of car tags, we would have to identify car tags as user 1. What we want to do now is we want to actually add in the field car tag so that ACT knows that car tag is actually a field as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to double click inside of the block that says user 1. And notice it says, okay, well, you have all these fields that you can choose from. And notice that they're in alphabetical order. And see where between alternate extension and fax extension it says car tag? Hopefully not, because you'd be seeing things, right? There's no car tag there. So what we're going to do is click on new field. When we click on new field, we're going to type in then car tag. And It can just be a character field. We're going to allow editing. We could say that we won't allow it to be blank. In other words, from now on, if you don't know their car tag, you can't put them on your database. But that might be counterproductive. This is something that we do want to collect the information, but we don't necessarily want to hold people up while we're doing it. So that's fine. We'll click on Finish. And so what the system will do now is associate this new field on our database with the new information for ACT. So now later on, if we want to pull a report that has to do with car tag information, we won't have to call it user 1 information anymore. We can actually call it car tag information, because as far as it's concerned, that's what's there. Now notice that between alternate extension and facts extension, we have car tag. So it actually is a field that ACT knows about. If we close this, then we'll notice that the database itself still says user 1, but user 1 is associated with car tag. Or actually, the user 1 field is associated with car tag. So now what we're going to do is, now that we have that field available, we're going to double click on it. We're going to select car tag and then select close. And what will happen now is the database will associate the car tag with the user 1 field. And that's all we need to do. So as you can see, you can create new pieces, or you can create new tools in your database, and these will work with whatever you need to customize for your company. We can also customize the toolbars that we use to create these or to put information in. We'll talk about customizing toolbars and menus next.